Today's guest is songwriter and artist Bari Phillips, pen behind Bari McKnight cuts like City of Angels and more, and a collaborator on Bari's World Records. Let's dive into the chat. This program is part of the Scene Project's podcast network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are. Well, welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today is Bari Phillips, better known as Bari. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much, man. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you, man. Before we get too far into all the things that you're doing now, which I'm sure is a very busy schedule on the day-to-day, we'd love to know a little bit about, who you are and where you came from. So the floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Bari McKnight. As Bubba said, I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm from New Jersey. I actually started with music, way a little earlier in life. So I was in like the middle school choir, and then I took that all the way up to high school. Then I kind of stopped with music. And then, music found me back. Music found its way back to me in life, and it was like during the quarantine where I just started just making songs every day. And then from there, I just ran with it.
I love it. I was also a member of my middle school choir, middle school band, kind of through high school. In high school, I started playing in my dad's rock and roll cover band. And it's always been a part. And even when it's faded from being a forefront of my life, it's always been there, right? I'm a guitar player. I'm a songwriter myself. And it always has an undercurrent, right? And I appreciate that, where that time, 2019, 2020 through, some people 2022, 23, 24, gave a lot of people that time to dig into passions that they had maybe left behind in their life. So I'm happy that the same happened for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was exciting because, not only has music, it was a centerpiece in life at first, and then it kind of, shifted to the background, and it always finds its way back to the front.
Yeah, it will. It's undeniable sometimes in that, right, isn't it?
It's just incredible, because here I was never even, and to be fair, I was even timid to start with music because I was like, what would I talk about? That was always my biggest thing. How would I connect with someone? But then not even realizing just being a regular person that's enough.
Well, we all have a story, and that's what's been a blessing about having a podcast now and interviewing over 300 artists at this point in the last 18 months is that no matter where we come from, right? I mean, we're as different as we can get outwardly, right, Bari? You're from New Jersey. I'm here in rural South Dakota. You're a beautiful black man. I'm as white bread as they come and country, but our stories can have such similar arcs, and we've already found common ground in 35 seconds of a conversation. And that's, to me, what's beautiful about dipping into, the podcasting world for me. And it's been such a blessing. And I probably have a little bit more culture than, most kids that grow up out in South Dakota, right? When I hit 18, I read On the Road by Jack Kerouac and was like, wait a minute, you can just like hitchhike around and you don't have to have all the money to travel in the world. And, that kind of opened my eyes. Now, granted, the beatnik generation of the 1950s and early 60s, much different than the, late aughts, that I grew up in, but I was able to go live that life for 2-3 years on the West Coast and seeing Venice Beach. And I lived in Oregon and getting to see, not only some of the most beautiful country in the world, but some of the places where original art was not only appreciated, but fully encouraged. You didn't have a lot of cover bands necessarily in those areas that I was at, where in South Dakota culture, while we do have original artists, it's mostly about cover acts, and that's how you kind of get paid in the music business. So it was kind of me coming back then to South Dakota later on in my, early mid 20s and being like, look, we can do this. Yes, we can play the covers and we can get paid, but we can also be introducing people to our original music as well. Like the two worlds can go together. They don't have to be diametrically opposed to one another.
You know, it's exciting that you said covers because I always think about that, and I always think about the artists having an identity for themselves. If they're always chasing a different sound or trying to sound like someone else to let people know who they are, I don't think that's the best way to even introduce yourself to people. But granted, I will say a few years ago, I remember on YouTube, the biggest thing to do was to watch covers from, just people who weren't the famous act, just other people on YouTube, so you can see their rendition of the same song, and they would do it differently. So I want to ask, when you say covers, are you meaning doing like the same song in the same style, but it's just going to be a different voice, or is it an artist coming in and just doing the same song but differently in their own way?
See, and I don't know how to replicate someone, right? I'm not a
Right, yeah.
carbon copy. So I'm playing songs that people are familiar with, but they're always going to be my way. And my way is kind of to pose them to you in kind of mashup form. So like the way
Hmm.
and especially my early set. So like my first set, I've pretty much started with the same 5 songs for the last
Wow.
say year and a half, where when I come out to play, whether it's a full band show or it's me doing a solo show, I start off with like Fishing in the Dark by the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band into um the names evading me right now, but another like Copperhead Road, taking that into What I Got by Sublime, into some Steve Miller Band Joker, into Wagon Wheel. So I'm blending you and giving you the like, hey, I'm country and I'm rock, and I'm going to be a little bit of that kind of what I would call stoner music, maybe with the Sublime stuff, right?
Right,
And
right,
a
right.
bit of, giving you that, because that's a taste of who I am, right? And
Hmm.
that necessarily doesn't represent my original music that I'm going to play, but it represents me. And like, this is what I grew up listening to. These are songs that most people, no matter where you've grown up, you've probably heard them, at least in passing. I didn't grow up
Hmm.
a big country music fan. My wife is from a little farm town, though. So once we got together, all that stuff that I'd heard in passing, the Garth Brooks, the Brooks and Dunn, or all of the Alan Jackson, right? Where I
Right,
was
right.
aware of them, I wasn't really versed on their, whole catalog of music until spending, hours in the vehicle with my wife and just having it beaten into my head, all that 90s country, right? Where I was like, you know what? This music isn't that different from what I grew up listening to in the rock and
Hmm.
roll world, or music that I love from the 60s and 70s when rock and roll still had songwriters, right? Where and the music I grew up, my first love in music, bands like Pearl Jam, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And
Wow,
I
wow,
was
nice.
even very young in my life, right? But I grew up, I was 7, 8 years old, watching MTV in the early mid 90s, before we moved to South Dakota. And I didn't have cable or, satellite TV for another like 5 years after that. That I love songwriting, right? I love a song
Yeah,
that can make you feel something.
yeah.
But I also love hip hop music, and I love, I freaking love boy bands, right? Who doesn't love some NSYNC or Backstreet Boys
Hey, come
on the
on.
playlist, right?
A
Like,
hundred
come on,
percent.
man.
Those are just neighborhood classics at that point.
And that's what I try to bring to the table. So while I haven't worked in a Backstreet Boys song into the set list yet,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could, but it's going to be my way. I'm not coming out and doing all the dance moves and everything, but I can deliver the song, and you're going to enjoy that, because the song is now reflected, or refracted rather, through my lens. Right. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
taking that light and kind of changing it. It's going to be changed because it's coming from me and not from the original artist. And I'm not trying to sound like them. I'm not a tribute act, right?
Yeah, and,
Where I
and
think,
no, go ahead. I was gonna say, and that was my whole point earlier, because growing up, I would see people try to do the song differently. And now I feel like I'm starting to see a carbon copy of everything, and there's no more originality. So that's why I was making that distinction of, are they, doing the same song, or are they doing it their way? And then it was really cool to even hear we have another thing in common. When you were going through your versatility, you said I have a rock song, I have all these different genres, and I'm like, that's exciting, because even when I try to make songs, I don't want to hear the same thing over and over. I might want to try something new, just to not only show that I'm experimental, but I'm not afraid to try.
and that's just, I mean, that's just who I am, right? Like, i can't
Yeah.
i can't help that I like 17 different genres of music, or 1,000 different varieties of those 17 genres. Like, when you come to a Starts and Ends show, which is the name of my band, that you're going to get rock and country, but you're going to get a little sprinkling of reggae, and you're going to get a little smattering of like the songwriter stuff. Like, you're going to get a lot of different things. You're going to get an indie rock vibe. It's not just the classic rock kind of side. So, but it's very hard to like describe that. I used to call it rockabilly reggae funk, and that was a little bit too much of a mouthful. So now I call it modern gypsy rock, where it is what it is. I'm someone who's very well traveled, right? I've probably covered 45 of the 48 contiguous. I've never been to Hawaii or Alaska, but it's on the radar. But I lived in Mexico for almost a year, on the run from some legal troubles in South Dakota, actually. But they loved American music. You know what my number one
requested such an exciting
song?
story. You can't run over that. That sounds so exciting.
Brother, that's why I had to start my own podcast, was because I went on 2 or 3 podcasts. We don't have a lot of them in South Dakota. And I've been on the local news programs. I've been on the local news TV like 13 times in the last year, different stations. And there's just not much of it. And that was really the impetus for me starting my own media company, was that my story was too big. Right. And Joe Rogan, who's someone I listen to a lot, who's the #1 podcaster in the world, that I realize is like, I know a bunch of facts from his life because I've listened to him tell them, not on one podcast. I've listened to him say them on now probably hundreds of episodes of his that I've listened to, but him recounting, I grew up in Jamaica Plains, or, you know, these other facts of his life. That's like, I need my own thing because I need to be able to tell this story and to recount these with other people and not just going on one person's program one time, because I can't cover it. Right. Like I barely scratched the surface in a half hour or hour long interview. Even if you had me for 3 hours, we would go deeper on some of the points of my story. But how is someone who has lived maybe 8 or 9 lives, different things that I've done, right? How do I encapsulate that into one conversation? And the answer was that I couldn't. I needed, you know, thousands of conversations over the course of many, many years to get that out. And even though we have 1,000 uploads on YouTube now, and 300 interviews with independent artists, I still only kind of recount the major talking points, right? I haven't even gotten in the weeds with some of these things. So it was necessary.
Well, I'll be honest with you. You know, since you are so open about your story, I'll open about mine. So I was actually arrested in China, of all places, you know, some years ago. And when I was, you know, in the Chinese jail, the one thing I was always telling myself is, you know, when I get out, I'm going to probably be bigger than any rapper out there, but I'm going to do it by giving out the type of music that I think is a reflection of me. And it's so funny to see me now here talking to you. And I'm like, wow, I actually decided to take action on something I had that was just a thought in a moment where I couldn't even do anything about it. You know what I mean? Just to still have that drive to keep it going and bring it alive is just, and just to see how you're moving with everything that you have going on, like that's an inspiration.
Well, I thank you for that. That sounds scary as hell, to be perfectly honest. I almost went to jail in Mexico while I was down there. I avoided it, but I didn't. I was an illegal alien, right? I was completely there illegally. My son was born down there. My wife was pregnant at the time, now ex-wife, was pregnant at the time he was born down there. But seeing how much of a strain that we were on the community we were in and on the, you know, national government, because we didn't have any money. We didn't pay for my son to be born down there. Like their their national healthcare system paid for my son to be born. That I have a different take on illegal immigration in this country, because I've lived that as an American citizen in another country and going, hey, we were just one person, but if there was millions of people doing the same thing that we did, how much of a strain would that be? So it's just perspective. And how do you deliver that perspective in a 20-minute conversation, right? And the answer is that you just can't, right? Impossible. Like you need that time. And Bari, it sounds like you probably need your own podcast to be able to deliver your story and to be an inspiration to others, right? That's really what it's about, is the impact that we have on our community is just so deep, and it's so wide, and it takes time to realize those things. We've only been at this podcasting thing for a year and a half, and really like wholeheartedly in it for like 9 months. Like I really started to go all in on this in December, January of last year, right? December, I really started like, okay, because I thought I was quitting my job in February 2024 to be a rock star, Bari. I was like, I had a bunch of gigs booked, and I was just like, man, this is happening. I'm finally gonna be a rock star. And then I got out there, and I'm playing 9 to 1 o'clock in the morning for a bunch of drunk people, and I don't drink much anymore because it's impossible to maintain that 5-6 nights a week like we were doing at points, and to be partying until 3-4 o'clock in the morning every night, right? Yeah, it's impossible. And not to mention the damage you're doing to your vocal cords in that time and everything, where I was just like, I don't want this as much as I thought I did. And it was at that point that the kind of teeter-totter started shifting to where it's like, well, what do you enjoy doing? And what I really enjoyed doing was interviewing other artists and giving them a platform to tell their story and to talk about what they've gone through and what they're doing. Yes. And yeah, now we're just hammer down on that. Yes, I still play some shows, but the music career is like more of an in for me to get the gas money to go to the places where I want to go meet some of the artists that I've been, right? Like,
I like that. Yeah, because I mean, to be fair, it's not I'm not sure I want to be one of those artists that's just like, always singing on the stage and stuff. I would rather be one that's kind of maybe connecting with people. Maybe you could just have my songs playing in the background. I think it's good. I'm more of like an ambiance person, in my humble opinion. Just because also my first thing is I wanted to be a family man. I was like, ain't no way I could be a family man, a musician. That's impossible. So it never really attracted me. I'm like, if I have to, sure. But, my main thing is I'd rather do that.
Right. And I'm a father as well. I got 3 kids, and that's another thing that hit me is that, like, when I was out on the road all the time, I was out on the road all the time. And like, it only took a month of being gone, half of it, to be like, I don't like this. Right. Yeah. Like, cause I lost 2 years in prison to my kids. And I lost a year with my oldest boy while I was in Mexico. And like, when I was there and made the decision to come back and to bite the bullet and to do my time and take accountability for my actions, right? And I was selling weed. I didn't murder anyone, right? I was selling weed. Now it's legal, or, at least it's medical here in our state. I have a license to grow it or smoke it if I wanted to, right? Which seems a little, asinine at this point. But that when I committed to taking that accountability, it wasn't so that I could come home and then just be gone from my kids all the time. Right.
Yeah.
And I travel a little bit here and there now, but like the month of July, I didn't go anywhere. Where in 2024, I was gone on tour most of the month of July when my kids were home and I could have been spending time with them. Now it's more like, well, I'll tour while the kids are in school because I don't see them all day anyway. I see them for 15 minutes in the morning. I see them for an hour after school. We eat dinner together and then they're in bed. I was like, how much of that like time am I actually losing? Whereas the summertime, which is usually the time to get out and tour for most bands, like my kids are at home all day. We could be at the swimming pool in the afternoon and we could be like actually making memories together, throwing backflips off the diving board and teaching them these things rather than being on the road, hanging out with people that I really just don't
know.
Necessarily care. I don't know. They're not there to hang out with me. They're there to hang out with their friends. And I'm just the soundtrack to that, right? Like,
we're just entertainment at the end of the day. That's why I was like, I appreciate that life, but then I'd rather have something to come home to. And if I don't have that structure first, I'm not even interested in going. Like, I understand I can meet people in the world, but I mean, it's never going to be a genuine meeting. It's not like we came together because we had an interest in ourselves as people. It's more of what we do. And that's cool, but I'd rather be in a corner with someone that sees me for me first.
Yeah, and that takes time. I think you're going to be an excellent podcaster, and I'm going to keep pushing you on that, not just in this conversation, but as we continue to communicate and collaborate after this, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%. Because I do have some songs that I think might be up your alley too, to be honest with you. I'm going everywhere.
Man, we're networkers, right? And that's connectors. And that's what the podcast for me has become, is just a space to, hey, come on my award-winning podcast, right? I was very blessed to win the Content Creator of the Year award from our Midwest Country Music Organization. But I won that because when I bought the microphones, thank you for that. When I bought the microphones, I knew what I wanted to do with them. I knew the community that I wanted to support, and we're very fortunate to have an awards show every year. And I took my microphones. I was a new member. I joined in February. The award show was in April, and I was like, I'm taking my microphones with me. I'm setting up at jam night on the Friday before the show, and I'm going to interview as many people as I can. sat down and did 25 interviews that night. Man,
That's
met
it.
all these people. Hey, I'm Bubba Startz. This is me. Let's talk about you. And that's kind of what won us the award the next year. Well, now we're invited onto the red carpet, right, for the award show. I did 35 interviews, right? So even though, it's our job, right? Like, that's our job, is to be the ones, like, this is where we're at. Even though I encourage everyone around us to do the same thing, we are very well, I'm just built for it. I'm built for having 1,000 conversations a night. I was doing it anyway. I'm just doing it in front of a microphone now, right? Or doing it in front of a camera. I was already talking and having the conversations. Now I'm just actually capturing them. And that's what kind of led us to, I had the camera rolling all summer, Bari. That's just, I got a movie. I just don't know how to put it together yet, because and we've connected with some editors and stuff now to where I think we have the wherewithal to bring it together and deliver something. But
if you need a soundtrack for it, man, I'm happy to offer some tracks, bro.
Now we're talking, man.
And understand, I own my stuff too. There's no leases, no licenses. We own it over here, so there's no trouble.
I love it. Well, and that's really what the movie is, right? Is the soundtrack of our life. It's not just me going out and playing. It's me interviewing artists all over. We do what we call a songwriter showcase. So I sit down with 7-8 songwriters in a show, 3-4 hour show, and we film it in broadcast HD cameras, and they get to share their art. Well, now those are able to go out on True TV Plus, on Roku, Apple, Amazon, and to be out there into the world on TV. So when artists are coming in and giving us some of their time, now they can, pay a little extra and see themselves on freaking Roku. And they don't have to build out the whole framework of that. I've already built the platform. You just got to show up, contribute a little bit financially, because it takes money to do these things. And
I know that.
now you have your stuff out on Roku channel, that you didn't have to go and build all those relationships and do all those things, right? And it's like all this stuff has come to fruition. We have our own internet radio station now as well. Like, all this came in the last month, right? Where I don't even know how to wield this superpower yet. Where it's about having, and the way that we market it is through our podcast. It is by talking about it and getting this information out there through that and trickling it out. Our podcast is scheduled on, I have episodes scheduled into March of 2026 already.
That's what it is.
That's just from me coming home from tour in August and working for the last month.
I gotta say, man, you've been nothing but an inspiration, because I'm sitting here now, like, with ideas, and I'm thinking, like, if I want to do a podcast, I could say, I'm a recording artist. Who are you? And that could just be the whole idea right there.
Boom. And that's honestly what we've built. So I have the Midwest Original Music Organization, which is for our artists to come in and kind of coach them into, this is what I've learned about this industry. But also I have the Midwest Podcasting Organization and the Midwest Podcasting Network. And they're private Facebook groups, but they're free to join, right? But just to network and to be able to educate more people. I say podcast is how God is speaking through us. Like, these conversations with one-to-one or how we're healing, how the world is healing itself, right? Because it's getting people off of that social media bullshit and getting them into a real one-on-one conversation. And then the groups become group conversations. And then you get to take that, once you have enough people in an area to get together, like, hey, if you guys can get my gas money paid to come to your area, let's all get together, bring the cameras, we'll do songwriter showcases, we'll all hang out and network and get to hug each other. And then now you're building community. And that's why, you see it in everything we do. Yes, it's a podcast, but it's a community, and it's a community of creators right now. But eventually that is a community of the creators and fans of those creators as well. And we're just kind of in that creation phase right now, right? We're growing, we're blossoming, and the full realization of that maybe years down the line still, right? But I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing because there's maybe not the financial payoff yet, or we don't have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, or whatever it is. I'm not chasing any kind of vanity metrics. I'm chasing one-on-one conversations with Bari, right? Mm-hmm. And with 1,000 other artists that we have scheduled out. That's what it's about.
That's beautiful, man. I gotta say, this has been one of the most inspirational interviews I've ever had. Like, I'm at a loss for words, is all I'm gonna say.
Well, and that's because
I've
I
never
don't
really
do it.
connected with the person and had so much in common too, and just been intrigued. Like usually it's just like it feels more of a transaction. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, this doesn't. I'm like, wow, I'm interested.
Right. Well, and it is a transaction still, right? It's a transaction of energy and of
100%, yeah.
inspiration and intrigue, right? I'm just as intrigued by you, and I'm sorry that I'm kind of dominating the conversation today,
I'm excited.
telling
I'm
you
just
more
listening. I'm
about
excited
me
to listen.
that I'm getting out about you. So maybe I should ask some questions and actually be an interviewer now. So New Jersey, you mentioned, but you also mentioned not really wanting to play out in the scene. Do you perform live now, or is it mostly just working in the lab and creating music?
So I have some DJ friends that actually they are the ones that help me get live shows, and I've done one before. It's not that I don't want to do it necessarily. It's more so I freestyle every song, so I genuinely don't know the words, and it takes me so much to practice them. And not to like say it as a complaint, like, oh man, I'd hate to practice and get to learn my own songs. It's more so now it's feeling more of a job, and it's more so like I want to kind of keep it in the area where it's most authentic and fun. And I'm not sure that form of the job is my favorite. You know what I'm saying? So it's not saying I won't do it. It's not saying I'm not opposed to it. But if I want to be a family man first, it's not going to be something I'm going to prioritize. I'd rather just build a community, as we're saying, and then that's something I'd more so want. And I think I could do it other ways in 2025 than performing.
Definitely.
I
Well,
think even just partnering with like brunch spots and stuff, and then we just provide the good vibes and we say, hey, sponsored by me, or we're, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. I think that's
right.
cool.
Yeah, networking connections. I think that's what the world is lacking right now more than anything. We don't need more performers
I don't
necessarily,
think
right?
so.
There's plenty of people that are willing to go out and perform their own music or other people. We need people that are going to be that connection. And because
Yeah.
attention is so divided, right? Because we don't have, growing up, obviously, I loved Rolling Stone magazine because I could
Yeah.
look right in there and I just like, these are the top people, and I'm meeting new bands and things like that. And they kind of lost their way, I think, and got a little bit too much into politics, and just their magazine changed and the world changed around us,
Yeah.
right? When everything went digital, a lot of these magazines kind of lost what they were. They weren't the spot to go to anymore. And now it's smaller communities, right? And
Hmm.
that's kind of what we've built. And that's why I encourage everyone I meet at this point to like, you should have a podcast, especially if I identify something in you that's like, oh, you'd be good at this, right? Like
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
interviewed me more on my own show than I've interviewed you, right? Like, so it's obvious that you would be really good at it. And your community needs it. Those DJs that are helping you to get onto the shows and that are out there spinning music and doing their thing, they can probably connect you with 100 artists right now that are up and coming that need someone to ask them questions about themselves because they're
Yeah.
not good at that thing, right? And it's about having people that are willing to go do it without the guarantee of financial gain, right? And that's the problem, is that because in this world and in our economy that, you feel like if it doesn't have a financial end to it, then it's not worth doing. And that
Mhm.
simply is just not true.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how, because one thing I always tell artists when I meet other artists is just don't forget what you're in it for. Because you're gonna get 1,000,005 rejections, but like that shouldn't stop you because you'll always get rejected from something, you know?
Bari, I sold magazines door to door. I've heard the word no and had doors slammed on my face more times than I can count.
Come
And
on.
in some ways that developed me into the human being I am today. I didn't do it for very long, but I did it enough to be like, you can push through that. You
Yeah,
can
it's
push
either gonna
through those.
motivate you or tell you sit down, do something else.
Right. Well, and it
Yeah,
was a
that's
little
it.
bit of both, right? It was like, hey, you know what? You're more valuable just taking that guitar and going and standing on a street corner than you are
Hmm.
going through and, hi, I'm Bubba and I'm selling overpriced magazine subscriptions and I'm never going to win this contest that I'm trying to talk you into. But please buy something from me today so I can stay at a, Motel 6 with, 30 other people. Like, no. It was fun
Yeah.
while it lasted, and as soon as it like started dragging me into like areas and regions that I didn't want to go to, like it was fun when I was doing the West Coast, right? I was like,
Of
cool,
course. Yeah.
towns I've
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
seen, places I wanted to be. Soon as it like we got to Phoenix, and they were like, all right, next is Texas, and I was like, I think I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I think I want to stay out here and see this part, you know, because after Texas was Alabama and everything, and I was like, I think I'm good on all that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to the beach. I'm gonna go back. You know what? We were just in, you know, Santa Barbara. I'm gonna go back there. That was nice, you know.
And that's honestly been my vibe for a lot of things these days. I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, good for you, but I'm good on that.
Right. And maybe that's something about being, you know, a father first, being a little bit
Yeah.
older. You know, I'm assuming you're probably not in your 20s anymore, right?
No. Big 3 zeros.
Yeah, there you go. See, and I'm 39, right? I'll be 40 next
Wow.
May. A lot of life behind me, but so many different lives where I got to go experience a lot of this. And I know for a fact that it's not for me because I'm that person. I need to go
Mhm.
do it. I need to go do it. I can't have someone. Bari, inside baseball. I went to LA to sleep on Skid Row. Well, not sleep, but to stay on Skid Row and be a crackhead bum for a night. Because when my parents were telling me you don't want to grow up to be a crackhead bum, because they'd seen them, right? They grew up
Yeah.
outside of Chicago. They had seen that. I grew up in rural
Mhm.
South Dakota. I'd
You
never
never
seen
seen
that. I
it.
was like, how do you know I don't want to be? And I went and did it for a night. I was like, 1,000%, you're right.
Don't
I
want to
don't
be.
want to, right? But I just, you know, and I don't know, that's probably a character flaw of mine, but it's also given me all of this life experience that I can tell my kids and other
Yeah.
people's kids, like, no, bro, trust me, you don't want to do that. Right. And
Mhm.
here's the list of reasons why you don't want to do that. And I'm just, yeah, I've never been a person that's like, you know, do what I say because I said so. I've never been able to follow that. It's probably how I ended up in prison.
Hey man, life has this way of just like not only having you sit down and redirect, but kind of pointing you where you need to be, you know?
And I can't feel like I was ever supposed to be anywhere than where I am right now. And if that's sitting in my garage studio, right, and talking with people from around the world with different life experiences, but similar passions, man, I
Mhm.
can't think of a place I'd rather be.
At all.
Not
You know,
for a
especially when you're in the driver's seat. Life is different when you're in the driver's seat too, because I could tell you seem like you're very in the driver's seat, very hands-on it. And for people that may not have that, I could see why they have the perspective of life they do. Because you seem to be super optimistic. You seem to be super, there's nothing I can't do. And if I couldn't do it, there's no reason why I shouldn't try. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people out here where every time I'm around them, they're always telling me what they're discouraged by. And I'm like, that's cute. What's your reason to keep going though? Don't share what you sad about all day. Let's see how we can get the gears in motion. We could be sad after we did it. I don't care how sad you want to be after you did it. We could complain. Like the way I break it down to people is like I used to be an athlete, right? I was a runner, a long distance runner. Come on, man. There's nothing sexy about saying we're gonna run 3 miles. That sounds exhausting. Like, come on, family. I know I trained for it, but Jesus is Lord. Stop playing. No. But then after I run the 3 miles and I'm tired as can be, I'm like, bro, you know how tired I am, man. But I'm happy I did it. Now I'm happy I did. I'm overjoyed because I did it anyway. And I look at music the same way. You know, maybe I'm running my race. Maybe I'm getting tired halfway. Cool. I'll still finish the race and I'll train again and I'll come back and run the race when I have all the energy in the world to get it to where I want to be. That's all it is. And I just tell people keep running your race, don't stop, and then always remember, as I said before, remember what you're in it for, you know? And those are just the driving points that I think are super important in someone who wants to be successful. And I mean, again, I'm just so inspired by the conversation. I had so many different podcast ideas or just ideas to enact around conversation just from talking to you, you know, because when I started music, I was I had moved back to New Jersey. It was right in the middle of the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I was living in New York, which was I thought was the best place to be if I want to do music, but I was never doing music at that point. I might have had a few introductions here and there, but I never took them seriously because I just wasn't in that space yet. You know what I mean? I think, and it's, as I was saying, you know, we get guided back to the spaces that we need to be. And now that I'm here in New Jersey and not in New York, I'm like, dang, I have all the music now, but it's like I don't have the outlet. I don't have the community, but it's like, that's an excuse on my part now. You know what I mean? Because if I really want it, I'm gonna find a way to make it happen, like I always do.
Your community's right here, right? Your
You know what I'm
community
saying?
is right here online. I mean, I live in a town of 1,000 people
Right?
in the middle of South Dakota. I am an hour and a half from any town that has over 100,000 people in it. I am 5 hours from the Twin Cities. I'm 5 hours from Kansas City. I am
Wow,
as
wow.
in the middle of nowhere as you can get, right? And I've built all of this from nothing, from an idea that said, oh, you can have a podcast, but your podcast doesn't have to just be a podcast. each podcast is its own network. And if each podcast has its own network, then you can build out as many as you want. And I just started filling up space, right? I mean, we have a sports network, we have a political news network, we have a mental health and kind of that side of a network. We support nonprofits like Operation Combating Veteran Suicide. We support our high school, athletics organizations, whether it's the football team. I do a coaches show every weekend with the head football coach where we break down tape and talk about his student athletes. We're at all the local things. My wife works at the school, so we get to be, involved with a little bit more there, but it's about serving a community. And
Right.
how are you going to do that? And for me, it's running my mouth and shooting some tape. How hard is that? We all walk around with these cameras in our hands all the time anyway. What are you going to use yours for? And for me, it was really learning in the last, pretty much the last 6 months, where, yes, I was serving our artist community and getting them on and sharing their art and doing that. But what more can we do? What more can we do for brands and organizations that need promotion? Because really, at the end of the day, we're a promotion engine. Right? We are a content creation engine for people that don't know how to do that for themselves, or even if they do, just can't seem to get the traction to the wheels, right? So we're kind of like the transmission, I guess. Even if you have a high-powered engine and you can output it, well, how do you actually transfer that power into something that gives you traction and propels your career? And that's what we're building is here's the vessel for that. Here are the tools to help you along that journey. And that's kind of what the organizations, the MOMOs, as we call it, the Midwest Original Music Organization, is that it's the car that everybody can get in and say, hey, we're all going to go do this together. Or it's the boat, rather. A boat's a better analogy because we need people that are going to row. If you're going to get in and you're going to be an anchor, we cut anchors loose because we're moving. We ain't trying to sit in harbor. We're trying to sail around the world. Right.
Keep the
And
gears going, right? That's what I'm saying.
yep. And if you ain't rowing and you ain't pulling on your end as hard as you can, then we don't have any room for you, right? Like we only make room for people that are going to row and going to help us get to that eventual goal, which is to never stop doing what we're doing, right? Like there's not a goal that says, oh, when we get here, we're there. No, there is no destination. The goal is just to keep the damn thing moving for as long as we can, have it outlive me, have it outlive every host that's involved now to the end of our careers, and to be able to pass this thing on to generations of creators. And that's the gigantic goal, right? And how do you quantify that, right? Like, how do you put that on a piece of paper for someone to understand? And the answer is that you really can't. You just have to get them in the boat, right? Like, what can I do to get you in the boat? And then from there, we'll just continue to grow together.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And that's how that's all I'm really looking for, honestly. Because again, just like you, man, I live all the way in the suburbs. I'm so far from everything, but I'm still excited to see all the progress that I'm still able to make.
Yeah, man, to be the guy with the studio and the show that all the artists in New York City want to talk to. And you don't have to be there to be connected to the city, right? Like, obviously, to hear you wax poetic about NYC, it still means something to you, right? And how could it not? If you're born and raised around that area, it's everything. And in many ways, it's the heartbeat of the whole world, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, in complete shambles right now or not, the city's changed a lot in the last 20 years, but it's still the hub and the cultural center of a lot of what the world sees, right?
Yeah.
And that may have shifted to LA for a period of time, or it may be, in other parts of the world.
I think it's Texas right now, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Austin, man, it's hard to deny that. I was in Austin walking around 6th Street. I went to the mothership, right? Nothing was going on there, but walking through and just being there, you can feel the vibe. Right? You can feel that pulse on the streets and, it's humming. But I think that it's all, what I think is that you just have different heartbeats everywhere. And in some ways, we're kind of becoming a heartbeat for the Midwest. Minneapolis used to be that for out here. And they went through such a horrible experience with COVID and the riots and all of it that people were just scared to leave their house. And in some ways, the Minneapolis scene is just starting to wake up again. And I think that's better for the whole Midwest scene when it's like that. But that kind of deterioration has left an opening for someone like me, who's a complete outsider, to now come up there and have a footprint, right? Where that wasn't even possible 5 years ago. I was never going to be able to break in there. All of us South Dakota bands and everything were like, oh my God, if we could only play in the cities. Now I'm invited up there with open arms, with the podcast, with my music, with everything. And it really left the door open for a new generation of how things are done. And now I'm not stopping there, right? I've already been trying to get into Chicago and St. Louis and Kansas City and Memphis and Little Rock and all these other places to just have a little bit of a footprint, right? I don't need to be everything to everywhere, but I do want to have a part of the scene in all these different places and to be welcomed whenever I want to come through town.
Yeah, I like that. You're leaving me with like a world of ideas, man. I gotta say, this is the most motivational conversation I've had in years.
Well, good, man. Welcome to the boat. Right. Well, welcome onto the ship. And, anytime that you need help with anything you want to call, like, you got my info. I'm an open book. This is all I do. I don't have a regular job that I go to that I couldn't give someone else any more of my time. Right. Once the job started feeling like prison again, the paycheck didn't matter. I'll find money. I'll find some money. Right. Like, I'm very blessed in my career to be established to the point where I get paid pretty well to perform. Right. I'm making between $500 and $1,000 when I go out to perform at a show. Now I have to pay other musicians for those things, but I make enough money, and I live in rural South Dakota, man. My mortgage is $600 a month.
That's what I see. That's what I need. That's the only thing that stopped me from going to the city. Cause it's definitely you're never finding that.
Bro, I interviewed someone that lives in Brooklyn yesterday. Spencer Brill's got a band up there. Spencer Brill Music. Great guy. Indie rock artist. Amazing conversation. Ooh. But his rent was $2,800 a month. And I was like, how do you live? How do you live? I was making $50,000 a year at my job, and it was a pretty good job for South Dakota. But your rent is more than that. Your rent is $36,000 a year. What the?
Come on, family. That's wild. Like, yeah.
I can't even fathom it. Right. I can't. I'm just like that. Our house cost $85,000. You pay in rent in 3 years, you would have paid off my home, right? And do you really need to be there? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think people are going to continue to ask themselves these kind of questions over the next, several years, as Crazy. So many people have been pushed out of the workplace anyway, whether they're just don't have a job anymore or they work from home. Like, does your home need to cost you $2,800 a month? Probably not.
Hey, you said there was an indie rock musician in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
What was his name again? I want to definitely check his stuff out.
Spencer Brill. So Brill was Brill. Yeah, he was great, man. And his episode probably won't be airing for a little while, but he got a cool band and a cool indie rock scene that they're in. He said it was kind of like, a throwback to bands like Weezer and Death Cab and that kind of stuff. So I was, in. Brother, my calendar link's just out there now, right? I don't know the people that are signing up for my stuff. I didn't know who you were. I asked ChatGPT, who is Bari Phillips? Okay, this is who he says he is, let's get on.
I figured, yeah, when you were reading, I was like, oh, that's definitely ChatGPT. I was like, that's super cool that it was still so spot on, though. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, and I just started doing that like 2 weeks ago, and it was like, oh, I've been screwing up by not doing this for 18 months, right? Like,
it not only does it save time, it's it's a quick intro. It's everything you actually need too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that was perfect because that's what I do.
Yeah, and is it absolutely perfect and spot on with what it does all the time? No. Sometimes it needs to be edited. Sometimes I get on and you're like, yeah, my name's pronounced like this. And I'm like, shit, give me 2 minutes. I'm going to jump over in Zoom real quick, record a new intro, pronounce your name right, and then I'll come back. But it's just so easy. And because I have the experience now of, of having the producing experience, right? that it can do it, which I screwed up on. I should have been running my banners this whole time. Sometimes I need a producer in the background to handle some of this stuff, because when I get trapped in the conversation, man, that's all I want to do. Right.
Right.
I just want to have a conversation with my new friend and tell them about me and to hear about them. And just like, that's what this show is to me. And is it always great content? I don't know. I don't ask the people who are watching, right? Do you
just having a good time?
Right? Yeah. And that's what
I'm sure
about.
if I'm as motivated as can be over here, I'm pretty sure we just motivated an army of people.
And the hard part is I've equated it to like, it's a ripple effect, right? We're throwing all these stones out in the ocean, and there may be people that don't see this stuff for 2, 3, 4 years down the line, but then they're going back and looking through the archives and like, damn. And by that time you may have been on the show 3, 4 times, right? Like,
come on now.
There's nothing that says you're on once that you can't come back. When you get that podcast up and going, I want to have you back on so we can talk about that. Right. Or you got a new song coming out. And that's how I am with all the artists that I'm doing. So while we have new guests coming on all the time, I love talking to a guest who's been on before too, because now we get to catch up. Oh, hey, what have you been up to? Because otherwise we don't get together as artists, especially as musicians or as touring musicians. Like, we're busy. A lot of people I know that are playing 4 or 5 nights a week, and they're not anywhere close to me. Right? Because I'm in the middle of freaking nowhere. So I don't get to see my friends unless they're on the show. And that's just the reality that I live in.
Wow. Yeah. And it's like that too. Cause once you mention that as an artist, even if I'm trying to get a feature or work with someone, that's usually even very difficult too. We never have the time. The schedules never, they never meet, all that. So yeah. No, I'll definitely be interested in coming back too. Since your calendar's out there, I'll see it. I'll just be like, hey, let's see if you're free this day. I'm dropping a project this day. Hey, let's talk about it.
There you go.
I want to ask you. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I want to ask. You mentioned you had an internet radio going as well. Do you allow submissions from independent artists for that?
Yes, sir. That's all it is.
Dope. How do I go about submitting a song?
I'll send you a form. A form, and then you'll fill out a little Q&A in that as well. We write for a magazine called Tumbling Rock Zine in Minneapolis. Nice. The Q&A sections are going to become part of what we start sending to them, to the editors there, as far as what they might want to include in their magazine. But we have other magazines that we're tied to as well. Like, we are the longer I do this, the more connections that I make. I'm covering the Josie Music Awards, which is an independent kind of country rock in that genre. But they have former winners of theirs that are on The Voice right now on Snoop Dogg's team, right?
That's important.
So, but I'm there as media covering the event now on November 2nd. We'll be down there in Nashville covering that at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, snap. That's great, man. Congratulations. You got a lot going, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it only continues to grow, right? We have no idea where it's going. Actually, we have Kevin Gates tickets that we're giving away for Live Nation because there's not people in South Dakota that are doing what we're doing and talking to the people that we're talking to, right? So they're like, well, hey, because there's no hip hop radio station in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, surprise. They're like, we have nowhere to promote this show to people. So I've been able to utilize some of our connections and to get into there. And that's at one of the biggest arenas in the state.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's incredible. Oh, I did also want to ask, I'd love to utilize some scenes from, our conversation as content at all. Would that be possible?
Yeah.
Is there any way? I wasn't recording anything. If you ever have a moment, just any kind of segment, I have a video editor myself. I could chop it up too.
I'm going to introduce you to some stuff that is going to blow your mind. All of this entire episode can be cut up into it'll probably be more like 30 shorts because we've been talking for a while. But it'll happen in about 5 minutes. It'll take me longer to download it and upload it than it will for my editing software to spit it all out with descriptions and captions and everything.
Oh, my boy got it going. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you don't get to 250,000 views in 6 months on YouTube without having some really powerful tools in your pocket. I don't spend any time editing anything, right? And that's what I'm trying to now turn people on to is like, hey, these are the tools that I use. This is what you should be doing if you want to crack the code. If you want to crack those algorithms, this is what you need to do. The days of going viral and having one thing that goes out there and all of a sudden catches fire, your chances of that happening are literally 1 in probably trillions now because of the amount of AI content that is coming out, right?
Yeah.
So those days of 2015 or 16, right, where you could drop something, it went viral, and now you're a big star, that shit ain't happening for nobody. So give up on that. Learn how to be a creator and just volume, pure volume.
Yeah.
Is it credible? Can you build trust with a community? Can you do what you say you're going to do? Because the internet will suss out bullshit faster than it ever has. Right. And that's where we just were like, no, we're going to do 12 interviews a week. We're going to post them up. We're going to have our if you go on our YouTube page, I have literally not just telling you that I have content ready to go. You can see it in all of my premieres. It looks like a cable TV network, show after show after show for months on end. This is what's coming out because I need to be able to prove that value to potential sponsors and advertisers to say, no, I'm not just telling you that I'm doing something. Here's the proof. Here's all the episodes that you could be a part of. Show me the money, right? Instead of going, I have an idea and we're doing some things. Why would anyone trust me? But you can trust that, there's all, okay, yeah, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, here's the check.
Wow. Yeah, you got to show. That's another thing I was telling myself the other day. You got to show your work. So every time I open my Apple Music page or just any of them, I'm like, wow, I have so much stuff here. That's beautiful. So I'm showing people that I'm here. Because I was talking to another artist the other day, and some artist, he was talking to someone trying to get them on a feature, but the artist that he wanted to feature, they didn't have much music out or anything. And they were like, oh, well, I charge this. And the other artist was like, how can you charge, but no one sees what you've done? We don't even know the quality of what you're able to do. This is not even like something we would be interested in.
Yeah. And that was kind of what pushed me into podcasting too, is that I don't write songs like that anymore. Right. Like if we would have had all this home studio equipment when I was 22, and I had all of the access to things that I do now when I was writing out, when I was just raw and everything was affecting me and everything that affected me, I wrote a song about. And if I would have had that, sure, I could go out and frickin' be a superstar now. But I don't have that anymore. I write maybe a song or two a year, if that.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to go back and write, I'm just trying to record the 30 or 40 songs that I had written back then and get those recorded now and to show that to people. But I can't keep up with the amount of output that is demanded of an artist these days. But I can do a podcast and talk to artists that are doing that.
Yeah. Hey, I have a great idea for our next meeting. If I book when I book one, would you be open to just we could listen to the songs and then, you could just give me your opinion on whether you like them, don't like them, doesn't even matter. I just want to hear your raw opinion.
Love Noise, Bari.
Oh, gotcha.
Every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central, we go live on our YouTube page and we have an artist on. They share 3 of their songs. And we listen to them live on the air. Some of people have performed acoustically on the air for us. But we just kind of hang out. We get to talk about the songs instead of the artists, right? Like today is more getting to know you and you getting to know me. Love Noise is all about the music. And it's, cool. You can book in for that next week. We need a guest.
Awesome sauce. Yeah. Again, if you share all the information, man, I'm with you. I'm prepared to send everything you need because I'm definitely interested in the internet radio and the love music.
Love Noise.
Love Noise. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're all good. It's the first time you heard of it. I forgive you.
Of course.
Hey, brother, go ahead and share with us everywhere that people can find you and where they can connect with you as well. And then we'll talk a little bit off camera when we're all done here.
Yeah, for sure. So again, guys, pleasure Thank you so much for having me here, man. My name is Bari McKnight. You can find me on all major DSPs at Bari McKnight, and then also on Instagram and all social media networks at Bari McKnight as well.
Bari, thanks for some of your time today, man. I'm looking forward to chatting after we get off camera here and continuing to just be a friend for a long time to come. So thank you for some time and thank you for being part of the scene.
Salute. Likewise, man.